Today is just going to be a little talk. My subject is something that I have been thinking about for many years. And that is the dollar. That's right, money, the dollar. $1. When I was a child, and that was a long time ago, I've lived many years and I have experience. I'm not an expert on everything, but I'm pretty well an expert on living from day to day, which most people do. And I remember my dad telling us that when he was a young man, he could buy a complete suit of the best material. That is the coat, the pants, and the vest at that time. For how much? Oh, a whole lot. 50 cents. That's right, folks, for 50 cents. That was in the 1800s. So, that time, that was a lot of money, because people just didn't have money in those days. They eked out a living from day to day on the little land that they owned from the government. Today, regular middle-class people make a good wages. That's many years ago. It's almost 100. 19 more years and it would be 100 years. So, in my lifetime, when I became old enough to get into the working class, I made $10 a month with a little place to sleep on a cot and whatever food was available. The jobs were hard. There was floor scrubbing on your hands and knees, bunch of children, so forth. Most of the time I didn't even get paid, because at the end of the month they didn't have the money to pay me. If they did, they lied about it. They didn't pay me, but I would just leave anyway and mark it off as experience, and maybe I helped somebody out. And that went on for quite a few years until I got my education. Then I worked for $1 an hour. 8 hours a day, and sometimes a lot of overtime for nothing. But I got paid $1 for 8 hours. After that, nothing. That went on for many years in my life. And like today, sometimes you were on probation for 3 months on a job and you got just about at the end of it and thought you were doing fine, you would get laid off. The usual policy was they last hired the first to be laid off. So you had to survive on $40 a week. And by the end of the month, or the next month, you were pretty broke. Then things start to change. People wanted more money. They wanted a better way of life. And so did I. But they decided to go about it by organizing themselves and blaming this one, that one, and the other for their woes and their lack of work. But you did have some programs where you could better yourself, and I took some of those and bettered myself to a certain extent. But the money became, the dollar became like a dominoes run or chase. One dominoes falls, all the others fall until it gets to the end of it. None of them stops. They all follow what the first dominoes in the lineup does. the dollar became the chasing dollar. The chasing dollar. It chased every dollar ahead of itself since then. But you always found yourself a $20 increase in your salary or money or income was gave you no more than the $1 did in your past. So the $1 became more costly to you and really was not worth $20. So the $1 began to lose its value in that way, because if you got $20 just for a ballpark number of a raise, then others around you wanted that raise, and the ones that they dealt with in buying their food and buying their clothing and everything wanted a piece of that raise too. So if you got a raise of $20, everybody else ended up wanting to get a raise the same amount. So your dollar, or your $20, was not worth any more than your dollar or my dad's 50 cents over 100 years ago. If you were making $100,000 a year in salary today, everybody wants a bite of that salary for themselves to increase their salary, because it's like the dominoes. If you are the first one to make $100,000 a year in a group of 50 people, everyone in that group of 50 people who have a different business or do some other kind of work want that same amount of money. They want that raise because they have to have it to continue to live. So therefore the dollar or the 50 cents to the dollar to the $20 to the $100 to the $1,000 only meant the same as the 50 cents or the dollar. No more at all, because it didn't bring you in anymore. You didn't get more money because you had to pay more for what you got, for what you bought. And then it got so bad that now big companies or whatever, people, they want more money, and someone came up with the idea that if they downsize in their products, then they would be making more money. Are they really? I doubt it very much, because eventually downsizing is going to stop the people from buying what you're downsizing. One time, if you bought, for example, if you had children and you had 3 children and you wanted to buy a snowsuit for them, you got it in one piece and you paid, well, $10 or whatever, just a ballpark, number for that one piece. But then somebody got the bright idea that they would make more money if they took the snowsuit and cut it in two, made a jacket and the slacks, and sell it for the same price to double their income. Well, the person that didn't have the opportunity to have their income increased couldn't buy it. So therefore, what would be the good if they couldn't sell it? There was always lots of people to buy it, but, they would still make money, more money, because they'd double it. So they downsized the snowsuit, or increased the snowsuit into 2 pieces, made 2 pieces out of it, and therefore charged twice. So the dollar became like all the dominoes in the line that the first one hit. They all became no more than that dollar that dominoes was worth, that dollar. So it may cost you $35,000 or $40,000 for a car or truck, or 50 or 60 or 80, 100,000, $1 million. I've seen it happen here in where I live. When I first moved here, we paid, $27 a month for our pad rents in the trailer park. And now we're going to be paying, right now I'm sure that it's $3.90 a month. And that's over a period of years. But that's the effect of the dollar devaluating in this fall. And if this goes through the whole economy, then you end up with the dollar not worth anything, the $100 not worth anything, the $1 million not worth anything. Like, for example, in real estate here, When I first came here, the highest price for a house was $50,000, and that was a big house. But now you have to pay nearly $1 million if you want a medium-sized house and a halfway decent house and piece of land. You know, and some of them have paid millions of dollars for a few acres of land. So the dollar, the $8 or $9, $10 million is not anything else but absolutely equal. The 8 million, 9 million is not worth any more than that $1 bill was. That's my experience throughout my 81 years of life. Do I have $1 million? No. But I have $1 million worth of memories, hard memories. I got what I got because I worked hard for it, and everybody does. And everybody's complaining, but what they've lost sight of is the fact that you don't get more for paying more. You get less today for paying more. So the dollar is chasing everything in this world under the guise of 100,000, 200,000, millions and billions of dollars. Only worth $1. One. And by the way, folks, if there had never been a zero invented, we would not have money in the economy as we have it and as we know it. It takes the zero. So it takes nothing to bring about these things in this life. Who is the happiest person? The rich person who can afford toys worth millions of dollars? No. Is it the person who is contented and satisfied with comfort in heat, food to eat, good health, happiness, someone to love you? Yes. $1 in your pocket could bring you about as much happiness and more happiness than billions. Thank you for listening to my little talk. I hope you get something from this, even if it's just a minute to give you some thought about our economy today and the way of life of people and how we demand without using common sense to realize that the demands doesn't bring us happiness. It brings us more and more stress and unhappiness. Take care out there. And yeah, stop and smell the roses. Enjoy looking at the sky. Kiss your children. Do the best you can. Be happy.